Good morning. Welcome to your Saturday morning, early morning intuitive guidance. A little later than usual because I slept in. It was lovely. So TJ's waiting somewhat impatiently for his W, but I figured I'd pop on here first and give everybody the update and then wander outside with him, which I think is already at 22 degrees, which is fabulous. Almost all the snow is melted. It is good. So for today, we have a card from the Wild Offering deck by Tosha Silver. So if you'd like to take a couple of nice deep breaths, just opening and releasing, settling into this moment, being fully present for today's card, which makes total sense for me why this one's coming up at this point. Good morning to whomever has popped on. Good morning, Cindy. Glad you're here. We're doing Tosha Silver Wild Offerings. And the card for today, first I gotta show you the back as always. Ganesh, the remover of obstacles. So if you have perceived obstacles in your way, feel free to call on Ganesh to help you get them out of your way. And notice I said the word perceived because I like to view, I've learned to view obstacles as simply pause points where it's going, are you sure you want to continue? Is this the direction you want to go? Etc. So it behooves us to pay attention to them and see what we can learn and then navigate past them. So, card for today is loneliness. Loneliness has some pretty blue flowers around it. But loneliness, I mean, that's a huge issue for many people, including many people of a certain age. I think the class I just took, his research had suggested 40-some% of Americans over the age of 50 were chronically lonely. Not just a little alone-ish, but chronically lonely. So that's why things need to change. Things need to change. So, another breath. Let it go. And here are our words for today. Loneliness. When you stop fearing your aloneness, you stop settling for less than you deserve. May I embrace and love my solitude, and that's when kindred spirits can finally come. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there, but part of it also is many of us have developed this crust, this fiercely independent crust. I don't need to ask for any help, blah, 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 which then in turn gets in the way of having a community, having a connection with a group of people on whom we can rely and who can rely on us. And when we can see that and are willing to address our fears about coming together, then I think not only do we free ourselves up, we put ourselves in the fabric of life. So if you view every one of us as a thread in the fabric of life, some of us have some pretty tattered fabric. There's not a whole lot of threads there. At any point, we can add more threads. It can be as simple as you say hello to someone you see every day and you've never said hello. Say hello or make eye contact and smile. It can be small, small things. It can also be being willing to have some conversation. It started when you were a child, being made to feel I didn't want to be any trouble. Yes, yes. And know that one of the things that gives people the deepest satisfaction is being of assistance to someone else. So when we don't ask, we're actually taking away the opportunity for someone else to be of assistance. I was talking to my women who are also working to create intentional communities in their particular places. The ones I talked to this week were in Ireland and Canada. And we all agreed that one of the things that most people of a certain age say is that they don't want to be a burden to their adult children. But in trying to be so fiercely independent, in not being willing to look at what are my life circumstances and what could I do 10 years ago that I can't do now, and what am I maybe not going to be able to do 10 years hence, Actually, the one woman had been involved in some research in Ireland. I think they did a survey of the population, and one of the outcomes was that 22% of people were living in houses that did not suit them. They were too big, they weren't navigable, they were too expensive, etc., etc., etc. 22%. That is humongous. And if you think about right sizing yourself, what then can happen is it frees up homes for families who need a much bigger place. We don't need 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms when it's just us rambling around the place. Good morning to whomever else has popped on. Glad you're here. But again, we like to do the la 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 thing about that and not take a look at it. I think part of the reason we don't take a look at it is because many of the options we perceive older people having are unpalatable. So that would include moving in with kids, getting an apartment in a senior living box where nobody talks to anybody and every hallway looks the same, blah, blah, blah. Assisted living, which isn't as much assisted anymore because they're so short-staffed. On up to we stay in our home way too long, we slip and fall, and we lose our options of choosing, and we end up in a nursing home. And that isn't so great either. So this is kind of my find the need and fill it opportunity, which not only addresses those of us who may live in circumstances, well, the house I'm living in right now with my father, helping him, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. One person living here, do they need that? No. He won't move, but that's okay. So, but go back to Ganesh, the remover of obstacles. What if we asked for assistance in finding our right-sized place to be? If what we currently have is not meeting our needs, it takes some bravery to say, this isn't working for me, I need to find something that is, and having faith and trust that there are other options out there besides the 3 I named that most people don't find very palatable, all right? So, but again, in the interim, there can be things that we can do, good morning to whomever else just popped on, things that we can do to assuage our loneliness, all right? Pick up the phone and call someone. My thing with the phone is I always hate calling people because I feel like the phone is one of those urgent, not important things. It rings as if it's a crisis, but really it could just be a conversation. I'm one of those people, I'll text somebody, are you available? And then I will call them. But other people are perfectly, my sister's perfectly comfortable calling. If she figures, which is absolutely true, that if someone isn't able to answer the phone, they'll let it go to voicemail. Or they'll call and say, or they'll pick up and they'll say, can I call you back in 10 minutes? Or whatever they would do. That is true. That is very true. And I need to allow that to be the case rather than making the assumption, oh, they're going to answer, they aren't going to want to have answered, blah, 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 all that crap. Okay. Yep. So Cindy's talking about her experience with her mom after her dad died. And most of us have a story like this. It might be a grandparent. It might be, and actually we were talking about that on the call too, that there was one man, a realtor in Canada by this woman who she was talking to, who had some interest in what she was saying. But interestingly, he was like 57 years old, something like that. And it would have been wise for him to be listening to her with regard to his own circumstances. 57 isn't that old, but again, within that 10 years hence, what will he not be able to do that he's doing now? So she said it would be good for him to have been interested in this for himself, but he was actually interested in it for his mother, who was 77 and really wasn't sustainable where she was anymore. And again, then you're in that place of waiting until it's a crisis and you don't have the luxury of exploring your options and making good choices. You're kind of stuck with whatever comes up. So again, I'm going to exhort everyone to think about those things, to actually, when it's not an issue, consider it, have some thought and conversation around it, so that you can begin exploring, well, what are my options here? Oh, look, there's a whole bunch of senior intentional communities in my area. Now, if you're in a Portland, a Seattle, San Francisco, I think, has a fair number, Madison, etc., you're in great shape. You've got options. If you're in a place like Appleton or Green Bay or one of those that's smaller and not yet in the discovery of these are some other viable, wonderful options, maybe you help create one of those wonderful, viable options in your area. Again, one of the things it addresses is the loneliness piece. The loneliness piece. But if you're willing to look at your loneliness, because again, there's a piece of it that is merely aloneness. We all do need solitude. Solitude and quiet is a good thing. I commented that it's kind of like darkness. We all view darkness with a jaded eye, like, oh, I don't want to deal with my own, journey through the valley of darkness and death. But to do so opens up a whole different batch of light. So the same way we can value the darkness, we can value the solitude and the silence. So what I'd like you to do today, if you have even the least little bit of vision toward your future, I'd like you to write down, what can I not do today that I could do 10 years ago? And then what might I not be able to do 10 years hence that I can still do today? And then what do I want to do about this? What do I want to do about this? This is taking the blinders off, not going la 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 la, looking at, because at this point you have many more options than you would have if you choose to do the la 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 thing. All right? So I'm going to read the card again. When you stop fearing your aloneness, you stop settling for less than you deserve. Think about that. How many people, good morning, Joe, are we willing to jam into our lives just to have people in our lives? I've heard people say, she really isn't that great a friend. She's very critical. She's not fun. She's blah, blah, blah. But at least she's someone. Don't settle. Don't settle. Free her to go find a friend that's appropriate for her. Free yourself to go find a friend that's appropriate for you. Stop settling for less than you deserve. May I embrace and love my solitude, and that's when kindred spirits can finally come. When you're desperately searching for people, you're actually driving them away. Good morning, Gwen. Prepping your house for sale? Need to find one all on one floor and eliminate stairs. Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. Yay you for being proactive. Fabulous. And that's the kind of thing. When you do an intentional community and the owners are involved in the building process, then things like first floor laundry, zero entry, wider doors, all that stuff happens automatically. Doesn't matter if it happens when you're 50 and you don't need it yet. You can grow into your home then, as opposed to outgrow your home. Just some thoughts. Yes, you can tell I kind of have a passion for this thing. All right. And then kindred spirits can finally come. The people who can show up in your life and make your life richer and walk your path with you without that grasping, I have to have friends feeling. All right. So that's your mission. I want you to write those two things and do a little pondering on it. What can I not do now that I could do 10 years ago? What might I not be able to do 10 years hence? And what might I like to do about that? Have an awesome day. See you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye.